In the ongoing saga between Logan Paul, CoffeeZilla, the crypto community, and the Christian community, Andrew Schulz decided to weigh in with his take. Now, generally speaking, I think Andrew Schulz is one of those guys that's in the mainstream that's relatively sensible and reasonable in his opinions on dicey topics. He does regular collaborations with people from all across the political spectrum, from Charlemagne the God to Jordan Peterson. So I was excited to hear his thoughts on this situation, specifically with the way Logan handled his Christian friend George and his faith in their relationship. We covered on the channel how Logan was very flippant in the way he spoke about Jesus and Christianity, and within a week's time, he himself admitted to experiencing the wrath of God, leading him to apologize for his friend George Jenko, who only met him with the consistent love of Jesus we saw exhibited. But Andrew Schultz's take on this was kind of an L. So on this video, we'll be reacting to just that. A clip from the Flagrant podcast talking about the diciness of speaking against religion and how some of this even overlaps to a recent accusation hurled at me by one of the biggest podcast channels on YouTube.
Ruslan.
This is from Schulz Reacts to Logan Paul controversy on the Comedy Shorts channel. I gotta make sure you guys know, as a forewarning,
had your kids, had your wife.
Explicit.
Okay. So there may be some profanity on this. We'll try to clip as much as we can. Let's jump right in. This is at about the 3-minute and 16-second mark. I'm playing it slightly faster just so we can get through it. And there's a couple things we gotta point out here, and then I'll play you guys another clip and how it all ties in. So check this out.
The tricky thing with pissing off religious folks is that you can't, there's nothing you could say if you believe the things you said, right? So it's like, if you go, I disagree with these things about your religion, and that's what is offensive to those people, you either have to go, actually, I agree with them, or you go, I'm sorry that you don't like the way I feel about you.
Yeah.
It's not gonna necessarily make them feel better. Maybe there's a more tactful way to go through it.
Yeah.
So he says you don't really have any other options when dealing with religious folks, specifically which George Django, in my opinion, and again, I tend to really like Schultz's takes on stuff. Here, I think this is an unnecessary false binary. I think you can say, hey, I don't like X, Y, and Z, or I disagree with X, Y, and Z. However, I'm not gonna intentionally poke at your religion, especially if you're my friend. And I think the double standard we see exhibited in conversations like this and dialogues like this is seldom is the same type of energy kept for other religions besides Christianity. I will be very shocked if Logan Paul was talking to one of his close friends that was a Muslim or a Jew and kept that same energy for their religions. This is the third option. Like, I respect you, I respect your views. I'm not gonna poke, I'm not gonna say wild stuff like Jesus F's, so on and so forth.
But I don't think that, I think that like fundamentally there's some disagreements that he has.
Right, that's fine.
With Christianity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't really back off of that because you've already stated it.
I'd assume, I think it's just really tricky. Like when you get into that, like what is right or wrong, especially when it comes to religion. That's a really tricky one.
But it is a good religion to piss off if the whole religion's based on.
So he said it's really tricky to what is right or wrong when it comes to religion. Now, here's my thought. I think I can articulate why Christianity is right in its values and its morals without even having to use religion to make the argument about whatever polarizing issue people are upset about. And there's multiple ways people come to ethics without religion, and I could use those, specifically the deontological or the utilitarian process, to get people to the same conclusions on why we hold these positions without having to say the Bible says, right? So I don't think it's as tricky as he thinks it is. I just don't think he's heard any good arguments fleshed out for the things that make Christianity unpopular.
Like forgiving people?
Yeah.
And then he says, and I believe this gentleman is a Catholic Christian, and he says that, well, Christianity would be the ones to piss off because, it's all about forgiveness.
I think it's a fairly safe apology.
Yeah.
And honest.
Was it that big a deal?
Was it that big of a deal? Okay, come on, Schultz. Don't fail me again, my guy.
Personally, I think if you get questioned on your religion and I don't want to say George proselytizes, but he's very proudly Christian. So
Correct. Check.
If people comment on you, who cares? And people can let people judge. Your faith is your faith. That's what faith is. It's people don't necessarily agree with me. Yeah. There's no real proof for it, but I believe that's exactly what faith is.
Yeah.
And I believe this gentleman is Hindu culturally. Okay, so yes, it's not the same as proof in that, do I have a video recording from a time machine of Jesus bodily rising from the grave. No, I don't have that sort of proof, but it is beyond reasonable to believe that Jesus rose from the grave. And then when I look at my life and the transformation that happened, there is proof. My life is the proof, one can argue. The certainty comes from what God has done in my life. And I believe that's more or less how George kind of navigates these conversations.
So let him question. That's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to be fazed by what he says.
He realized it came off like that.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, guys, do me a favor. Please smash that like button. It really does help out a ton. Let's get right back to it.
I also am like, how many of his fans don't know this about him already?
Now, this is where I think things really go off the rails, right? How many of his fans, Logan Paul's fans, don't know this about him already? By the way, I don't consider myself a Logan Paul fan, but I knew this about him already. So I think Schultz completely misses it here. Listen to what he says next.
It's not like he just came out for the first time saying that he's not religious.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think his diehard fans are like fundamentalist Christians.
Yeah, I think it's like
I don't think his diehard fans are fundamentalist Christians. I don't think it's the first time he's came out and said he's not religious. Okay, that's fair.
they're fundamentalist Christians that found the clip on TikTok or Instagram, and they're going, hey, this is really fucked up. How dare you do this? So he's feeling like an onslaught in the clip on TikTok or
so listen to what he said. He says, fundamentalist Christians have found this clip on TikTok and they're doing this.
Instagram, and they're going, hey, this is really fucked up. How dare you do this? So he's feeling like an onslaught, and it feels like the whole world is saying how stupid. But the reality is, it's a group of people who aren't even his core fan base. So it's like, I don't even think you need to apologize to them. I mean, there's not a lot like hidden with Logan. So
I think the L here is that he's assuming that the only people that find what he said about Jesus are fundamentalist Christians on TikTok who found this clip. The second thing that I think is kind of whack is that he dismisses everyone that would find this offensive, seemingly, from my perspective, as a fundamentalist Christian. And this reminds me of something that happened to me recently where I'll play you guys this clip. This is actually who inspired this video by covering this exact topic. This is my buddy Angel. And listen to what he says when he was reacting to this exact same clip.
Fundamentalist Christians is my favorite word because so many of these podcasters use this as a way to discredit anybody that actually likes following the Bible and following Jesus. They did this to Ruslan. Ruslan went on Adam 22 and No Jumper, and then after Ruslan annihilated destiny in a debate about pro-choice and pro-life and all of these things and the existence of God, there's clips thrown up afterwards on No Jumper calling Ruslan a fundamentalist. Now
that's a big L for whoever titled those videos. I'm not even saying Adam 22 did that. I'm just saying that's a complete L for how that played out. But listen to what Angel's point here is.
Let me tell you how big of a joke it is that people would call Ruslan, out of all people, a fundamentalist Christian. They don't understand what the word means. They think fundamentalism is just doing what you believe in. That's not what fundamentalism.
No, it is not.
Fundamentalism has an actual definition. You are beholden to the fundamentals apart from the gospel. So a fundamentalist Christian would not be a healthy Christian. It would be somebody that holds to the law too much and doesn't understand the freedom and the grace of God. It's always funny to see people misuse these terms to be used as a boogeyman to just get rid of Christians and to take all the people in those comment sections that are proving Logan Paul wrong and proving Schultz wrong about Christianity, that they're just fundamentalists. They don't actually know what they're talking about. So this is the part.
And that's exactly how the conversation unfolded in terms of the No Jumper thing. Like, well, are you a fundamentalist? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, am I? Because fundamentalists have specific things they believe in. They tend to take a literal 6 days of creation. They tend to take a hyper literal view that all of Scripture is word for word, God's word, in a sense that everything in the Bible, including things that are not applicable to the New Testament believer, are also God's words. There's so many distinctions of fundamentalist Christians that most Christians aren't falling within, that when this label is used, what it's intended to do, and I'm not sure if this is Andrew Schultz's heart, but oftentimes what it does is that it dismisses and diffuses someone by labeling them as a fundamentalist Christian instead of dealing with the merits of their argument. The merits of the people who were upset with Logan Paul and how flippant he was weren't all fundamentalist Christians. There was actually non-Christians and people of other faiths that came to George Janko's defense that were like, yo, this is way out of pocket for him to make these sorts of statements about Jesus. Shouldn't we extend grace and tolerance, right, to people who share a different worldview than you? And I think this is, in my opinion, unfortunately, where Schultz completely strikes out on this. Let me play some more of this and see if there's anything else he says. But someone actually says that to him right after, one of his co-hosts.
You know what I mean? So there's nobody who's like a fundamentalist Christian, thinks that he's a Christian, and then found out that day that he's not.
Nobody thought that. Nobody thought that. Nobody thought that he was a fundamentalist Christian. Nobody thought that Logan Paul was a Christian. Nobody thought that. What we did think was it was out of control the way Logan so flippantly spoke about the God-man Jesus, who billions of people around the world worship. That was the part that was out of pocket.
Preaching Christianity and Logan not picking up on it.
Yeah, I think what was bad was just that he was like knocking the religion.
Yeah.
So it's not that people can know all.
That's the take right there. Thankfully, he has somebody solid enough to correct him.
Already that he's not Christian, but the fact that you're knocking the religion, and then George like felt a way about it. Now it's like, oh shit, any person who's Christian watching, and then they see George having a problem with it in the room is like, oh no, this is because even your friend is bothered by the things that you're saying. So I felt like I think
exactly. Thank you. And this is what I do appreciate about the Flagrant podcast is that there are people there that will push back and disagree with them. But I think Schultz, just even throwing that label around, the fundamentalist, I think that was an L take, man. And usually I love Schultz's takes on most things, not all things. Here, I think he kind of struck out, man. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about it. Do you guys think this is a bad take from Matt George? What have you made of all of the Logan Paul, George, Janko, CoffeeZilla? Drop that in the comments and consider partnering with us on Patreon